Hi, Anya Bartholomew here. Welcome back. Well, this week I came across a pretty bold quote by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's time to sell, period. So this video will explore 9 different reasons that will help you make and decide for yourself whether it is or it isn't time to sell. Buckle up, let's go. And before we get started, I'm Anya Bartholomew, your local Utah real estate agent, and if there is anything I can do for you, my information is below. The first reason that might indicate that it's time to sell is the fact that's very widely spread on the internet, and that's the foreclosure moratorium ends September 30th, right? What it means, however, if we look a little bit more clearly into the description, so it means that FHA, USDA, VA loans, all of those loans, the deadline for forbearance agreements ends to apply for those forbearance agreements. It ends on September 30th. And if you if you've ever dealt with loan modifications, forbearance agreements, you know for a fact that we're about 12 months into the work in progress before any decisions will be made. And to make sure we're not leaving out Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, well, these deadlines is not even in the picture. So there's no deadline. You can still apply for forbearance agreements with those loans. Consideration number 2, during the worst of the pandemic, during that pretty hard, difficult economic year for the United States and for the entire world, there were 7.3 million loans in forbearance agreements, in pre-foreclosure. And as of right now, 12 months later, when the economy is much better, only 20% of them are left into this program. The other ones actually, I'll refer this a little bit later. But anyway, so if another 12 months we have 20% of 20%, it's not going to be a lot of inventory flooding the market to make a crash. Number 3, and it's actually very significant how 80% of those default mortgages got cured over the period of 12 months. So here's the statistics. 28% got deferral, 22% actually continued making payment and never really went into default. So now then 16% opted out without any plan, but then 12% simply reinstated without any government assistance. And finally, 11% ended up with a loan modification and 7% refinanced or basically paid off the mortgage either through refinancing or through selling those homes. That's not a very significant number. And out of the entire amount of those 80% that cured, actually only 1% went into foreclosure. That is not a very big number. Number 4, very significant difference between 2008 and 2021. In 2008, only 40% of loans actually had at least 10% of equity. And given the recent home prices rally in 2021, 98% of homes, loan on those homes actually have at least 10% of equity, which is more than enough to put them on the market and sell them off without foreclosures or short sales. Number 5, big picture number. In 2008, the population of the U.S. was 300 million, and the loans in default like 10 million. We had 10 million foreclosures. That's about 3%. And in 2021, the population is 330,000, right? That's how much we grew. And the 1.6 million accounts for less than 1%. Number 6, another significant difference. In 2008, we had only 4 or 5 different plans to work out something with the homeowner in default, which was a short sale, foreclosure, deed in lieu, right? The jingle mail, of course, then the loan modification, and then reinstatement. However, in 2021, there were so many options added to the mix of solutions, including 360 days, payment, and then 25% decrease of the payment, and then the 12-month deferring payment. And I mean, there were so many options, and we're not even mentioning 40-year mortgage that was added into the mix. So the number of solutions that the lenders are willing to provide to the homeowners in default 11 years later is at least double. Now, since we're trying to answer the question, is it time to sell or not, I want to bring to your consideration is this such very, very important statistics like home prices has been really, really insignificantly, but yet as a trend, they've been decreasing. Days on the market, has been increasing. The inventory actually over the last 8 months doubled. So we are in the seller's market, and we also know that the seller market is not going to be forever. So these are also important factors to consider where you are deciding for yourself, right? So not listening to anybody, just deciding for yourself whether it's a good time to sell or not. And on the other side, to piggyback on that, previous information, we want to talk about latent demand. I really noticed, because I track statistics weekly, I noticed that the number of sales from last week to this week actually increased, relatively speaking. I'm just tracking weighted averages of those sales, which also means it coincides with the fact that the mortgage application increased by 7%, and it's pretty significant. So we know that there is this latent demand of those more, savvy buyers who are sitting on the edge, waiting out the market, and then with every opportunity, when the interest rate dropped and housing inventory increased, so they're jumping in the game pretty quickly. So again, the point being is it's really important to really watch real estate market week to week, because it is changing quite a bit, and there is an opportunity to play off the seasonality and a little bit of that. So stay tuned. Number 9, it's actually eviction moratorium, which I think a little bit of the wild card, because the statistics and the numbers are not very, explicitly disclosed. There are conversations and numbers saying there are 8 million of landlords, being in foreclosure, that are sitting on those rental units that are not, when the tenants are not paying rent. The numbers of rent not paid to the landlords is horrific. I know the government issued 46 billion in assistance to the landlords, to make payment. But because of our system, only 3 billion has been dispersed. So there is an opportunity, probably a little bit of more inventory coming up on the market through some of the landlords who will be putting those, things on the market. But at the same time, they too can enter the forbearance agreements, and they too don't have, there is not a lot of options of actually to play the game of dollars, inflation basically. Therefore, selling asset is an easy thing to do, but then what are you going to trade off for dollars sitting in the bank? So therefore, we might see a little bit of more. But even if we double the inventory right now, Realtor.com has 1.33 million inventory. Overall for the United States. So even if we see doubling of this inventory, we are right now about 1 month's supply of inventory. We're in the seller's market, but in order for the market to be a balanced market, we need to be close to 4 months. So if we double the inventory, over the next year with the landlords and a little bit of those evictions and a little bit of those foreclosures coming up, we're still going to be 2 months supply of inventory, which is still half of what's needed to be in a balanced market. We're not even talking about buyer's market. And it's actually, the number is 4 to 6 months. So I don't know. I've given you the information that I have access to. You can easily find it, but I just did a little bit of research. So you decide for yourself. I'll be very, very curious to know what you guys think is going to, is it time to sell, not time to sell? Of course, it's an individual decision, but overall, what do you think? Let me know. And as always, if you find this information helpful or useful or insightful in some way, please feel free to subscribe. And again, if there's anything I can do for you, my information is below. Thanks you for watching.